Hey everyone, Temporal here, and for this session we are reviewing a gold Moira player.
All systems operational.
If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate it. Or if you're looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, promos, all that good stuff.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
So my understanding is this is a gold player in a more plat diamond range. I think they're grouped with some friends and it's pulling the SR up based on what I heard.
This will restore you.
Sure. Let's set up here. So you're going in here.
You seem in need of aid.
You can't heal through walls, but good try. Sure, you can heal that Winston a little. That's way more than you needed to heal him. That's way more than you needed to heal him. Okay, I'm good with the orb decision that you make here. Why are you so slow to track your diva like that?
Help me.
You definitely didn't need to be healing your Lucio nearly as much as you needed to heal your diva there. So I don't know if you were trying to stay on Lucio to heal them or if you're just slow to track. Okay, throw a healing orb. This is a nice, good place for your orb to bounce around to get value. This fight is going to sort of take place here. Your team is going to push in, but this is a perfectly good place for you to throw an orb, especially with that diva in the shape she's in. Hey, Blux, how you doing? I'm happy we are not on Twitch because Twitch is full of low educational plus low-income viewers that flood chat with low culture comments. Oh, okay. Yikes.
Not ready.
Bouncing our healing orb. But you see, you're in this situation where you're totally out of healing juice, and that's because you heal spammed so heavy on your Winston at the beginning. You heal spammed on your Lucio when your diva needed it. Like this was heavy heal usage, and now that the fight is actually happening, like everything that's happened before now has been sort of pre-fight, a soft engage to move the opponents off of high ground that they were never going to keep. The opponents aren't going to try to keep this with the comp that they had. So like we've now spent our entire bar of support healing. We've only gotten half of our ult charge from it, not 70%, not 100%, only half of it from it. And we're in the place where the fight is actually going to happen with nothing left and with Coalescence not even in sight. You're doomed. You've totally mismanaged your resources. You have nothing left for the actual fight. And that's sort of when Moira's at her best, during the actual fight. Her ability to just chunk out heals in an AoE manner on an enclosed fight, on a fight that's happening in a tight space, which is exactly what this is. Exactly what this is about to be. And you just overspent back here. You overspent back here. We want to do light. We want to be much more gentle tap healing when we can, or at least not heal targets that are full. Like, your heal continues to heal people after they've left a bit. You don't need to just be like, oh, what am I doing? You spent way too much, and this is a really good example of how that costs you. And I expect you to just get rolled here unless your Widow goes off. You're just sitting here waiting on an orb. Oh, you have an orb. You're going to have to use it for heals immediately.
Power.
Okay, your team had to take this super passive. Now you finally have some resources again, and you're close to your ult, so now you can potentially do this. What? Why is your movement? No. So you're here. You pushed on without knowing where she was, which is fine. That I'm not worried about. But tuck behind cover. Make it so that it's harder for her. Don't give her a straight line of sight on you. Tuck this way. You want to fade. If your fade starts in the open, you want your fade to end behind cover. You don't want your fade to end in the open. You should always know where you're going to fade to be safe. Like literally always. And here you do this, and I think you just had your hand off the mouse or something, because this is bad. Like you're just walking forward. You're not, again, stepping behind this box to break line of sight to give yourself a little bit more play here. I love doing quick forward backwards when fading to bait people. That's a little different. Yes, I mean, yes, there is room
Clerics
for,
are
hey,
geniuses in the
I'm
name of
pretending to go
science.
forward and then I fade right back here, and I actually did finish in a similar place. That's not the general, though. Like, that's the exception. We're like, okay, yes, there's situations where we'll do something like that. That's not the standard for a Moira.
Let's take the point.
Yes, you can fade jump. Like most things in this game, you'll keep your momentum if you just like that. There we go.
Allow me to repair the damage.
Okay.
Surrender to my will.
No. I would much rather, so here's how coalescence tends to work. You want to start your coalescence. Like, yes, you can use a coalescence to enable your tank. That is not the worst coalescence in the world. But remember, this monkey actually, even though they're critical, has a fair amount of health left. They're critical and primal, and that's probably a good 300 health that they've got left there. And they're choosing to stay out of the fight. They're not choosing to go wild aggressive. So you don't have to pop coalescence to heal them. That's not a thing you have to do. What you generally want to do with coalescence is you either want to enable a tank that is then going to get your ult during their coalescence. So that might be a Reinhardt, a Diva, maybe it's an Orisa being pushed, maybe it is a monkey that's zapping stuff. Like, you want to enable a tank to enable them to brawl so that they'll get their ult and that they'll win with their ult, with their shatter, with their supercharger, whatever the case may be. It's much more likely to be like a Ryan or a Zarya type thing. That's what you're usually looking to do with your coalescence. Excuse me, that's one of the things that you look to do with your coalescence. The other thing that you can look to do with your coalescence, and you should start with one of these two goals, either enabling a tank to brawl so that they get their ult, or you should start with the goal of, I'm going to start on an enemy that I think is a good 1.5 2 seconds from cover that I can try to eliminate before they're able to get behind cover. And if I eliminate them, fantastic. Now I've accomplished what I needed to with my coalescence, and now I will downshift in my coalescence to just pocketing a tank, to just trying to do maximum cleave damage, whatever. So maybe I start with the, I'm going to try to eliminate this opponent over here, this Ashe, this Junkrat, this McCree, whatever, and then whether I get them or not, if I can't stay on them, I then downshift to, okay, let me just enable the brawl. Let me just enable my Winston that's zapping people, things like this. You don't, however, want to start a coalescence to like save your Winston that's up here that doesn't actually need to be saved. You aren't really trying to use coalescence to be like, let me burst into this fight. No, it can be to sustain tanks that are charging an ult, that are doing a lot of brawl damage. It's not really to save people, though. Okay, back to our gold Moira. And that's better, but you're never going to get an elimination there, because if you don't start with your coalescence on an opponent, it's going to be really hard to get to them, because they'll start to go to cover, like they will against all ults, all threats. So you really want to start on the person you're trying to get the elimination to, and then downshift if you're trying to get eliminations with it. Probably didn't need both of those.
This will improve your condition.
You're just going to have to wait on orb. You're going to orb yourself. You don't need to heal this Diva. Okay. What are you healing? Now you can heal her. Stop, stop.
This will restore you.
Better.
Join with me.
So when she's behind cover, you can be very light on your heals on her. Even if she's missing a lot of health, you can be very light on your heals on her, where you're like, let me just gentle tap heal repeatedly. Gentle tap heal repeatedly. Like, tap it for an instant, let go for a second. Tap it for an instant, let go for a second or two. Tap it for an instant, let go for a second or two. When she's not in a place where she's just having damage thrown at her, you want to use much more tap healing with Moira so that you can serve this resource so you don't end up in the situation that you were in the first fight.
This will heal you.
Sure. Yeah, you faded into an interesting situation with the monkey here. You have fade again to get out if you need it.
Allow me to repair
You don't
the
need to off angle.
Help me.
Does this this feel like where you should be? Look at this from the opponent's perspective. You're here, your Widow's here, the Diva is here, and the opponents are coming from this direction. Does this ever feel like where you should be? Now, I understand Moira has to be able to get some right clicks on people, to get some value, to sustain her ability to heal. Don't get me wrong, I understand that. But you shouldn't be spending much time in front of your whole team like this. You might off angle a little bit, but more likely, your right click range is longer than you think. You sort of let their front line come in. You conserve your healing better than you have with tap healing when it makes sense. You don't just hold shift onto targets that aren't in much danger like the Lucio, or hold left click onto targets that aren't in much danger like the Lucio wall riding up here. And then you get your right click while targets are close, while targets are brawling. You don't stand up in front of your team. And if your front line fades back, you need to fade back as well. You're here too long. You're here too long. Oh, Moira, okay, I'll bother some up at you again with your horrible Moira. Uh-oh. And we hit this, but this is slow. Why are you dragging left click onto the Widow? She's fine. You can heal her, but she's fine.
Surrender to my will.
Again, we don't want to be going, oh, I'm going to Coalescence to try to save my Diva here. We could do it to try to enable our Winston, who has now jumped on their Diva, and be like, I'm enabling my Winston to get Primal, and I'm going to be hurting their Diva at the same time. That could be okay, but honestly, if you're trying to take over games as a Moira, your best window to do so is usually with your Coalescences right at the beginning to pop it with a specific 200 HP target in mind that you're going to try to melt. That is a good 2 seconds, second and a half from cover that you can try to get the elimination off of. And if you don't, you just downshift into what you're about to do on your Winston. But we don't really want to be popping Coalescence to try to heal our Diva here. That's not what we want to be doing. To enable our Winston, even if our Winston was lower health, I don't care about the Winston's health situation. I care about, oh, I'm enabling him to stay on this target. Not, I'm popping Coalescence to try to get a heal burst for my Diva, to try to catch back up in the fight. That's not really what we're trying to do. At least it's not Lucio. Just a question, is DPS Moira okay? I mean, you can do what you want. You can play your game how you want. I know how to make your play better, and the answer is no, that's not really what you want to do. But hey, before you say no, what if there are 5 DPS players? Well, if there's 5 DPS players, do whatever you want. Yes, if someone's not immediately going to get eliminated, throwing your orb out unless you see the coal would be generally a good idea. Yes.
No one can hide from my sight.
So that Coalescence didn't do that much. Yes, your team took a bunch of space during it, but that probably had as much to do, really more to do, with the self-destruct than it did the Coalescence. So that's not amazing, and you can probably tell, wait a second, I didn't really do anything. I didn't get eliminations. I didn't charge up my Winston's Primal Rage. I didn't, really get a ton of healing plus cleave damage done that really pressured the opponents into backing off. Didn't really get much done with that. Just tried to heal a Diva who self-destructed for a fresh mech anyway. When you're looking from a coal, use fade to get better angle. Not super aggressive though. To hit as many targets as you can to actually get value. Exactly. Your coal is going to last long enough that you're not worried about not having your fade, so you can go fade into Coalescence to get a moderately aggressive angle. That's a good tip there, Blue. Plus orb, yes.
This will restore you.
It's a lot of healing. That is a lot of healing that you're spending there when your Lucio is behind cover. He's not actually in trouble. You could have just been gentle taps of the heal there.
60 seconds.
You're not going to take her down. Why are we using a healing orb? We have beat? Why are we using a healing orb? Why are you here? Please don't be here. Please fade and go somewhere else. Please? 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 That's not where I wanted to go. Oh well. Oh well. So again, you need to be thinking about where am I positioned currently, and if I get into trouble, where am I going to go with Fade? You should always know if you get pressured, where you're going to go with Fade. Where you're going to go with Fade. Where you're going to go with Fade. You should always know that. Like, okay, I'm here, I'm safe for now, but if I get pressured, where's the most likely spot I'm going to go with Fade? You shouldn't have to think after you've pressed the button, and you shouldn't have to delay the button because you're thinking. You should always know where you're going to go with Fade. That should be taking some of the cycles of your brain power at all times.
Injured again.
It's better, but still a little heavy on the left click. That's way too heavy. Way too heavy. The Genji isn't in line of sight of the opponents. You do not need to spend that much healing to get him up.
This will heal you.
I also don't want to spend that healing orb.
This
Why?
will heal you.
Why am I spending this? Like, it's not a super long cooldown, but I mean, I'd rather like randomly send that in the opponent's direction as a damage orb than what you just did with that. Not our favorite.
Allow me
You
to
threw
repair
that
the
without even knowing
damage.
how weak your Winston was. It doesn't get him. Yeah. Like, remember, they're yellow. They could be at 51% health, 99% health. You don't know. You don't necessarily want to invest your big cooldown, especially when you have so little resource.
Not yet.
Hi there.
This will restore you.
He's behind cover. Good. Oh, no, you're out. You didn't gentle heal. You ran out of healing resource.
Get into position.
Yeah, this is still a pre-fight enough. You're potentially going to get punished for that healing orb, but good, they're not pushing. Why would you come back here? Why would you come back to point here? You were perfectly fine here. If they push in, you have a nice, easy right click on them. It's not like you have any left click to use. If they go high ground, you tuck in here. You were perfectly good here. I don't know why you wandered back through the open sight line to get to guard. Okay. Sure.
No one can hide from my sight.
Your power is mine.
Sure would have been nice to have the healing orb for this. We probably wouldn't have needed to spend beat if we'd had the healing orb for this, but okay.
Allow me.
Where did she fit? You're here. You do that.
Allow me. This will heal you.
Oh, you haven't spent fit. Okay. So we're not in any danger of losing our Widow because we're going to fade over and heal her if we have to, right? Right? Oh boy. Okay. So you had Fade, and while Fade is your escape, sometimes it's also your I'm gonna go save people. It's a pretty good transition. You move pretty fast with Fade. That's a little painful to see. Okay, so you've got half resource, you've got this, you've now lost 2, so now this fight is over. Let's catch up on chat. Why not? If someone's not immediately about to get eliminated. When you're looking for a coal, use Fade to get better. We talked about that. Super Sniper plays Tifa. Half full or half empty? No, it's just half a bladder. I see Diva not looking at me, and we just used beat. Pop that damage orb into the enemy backline. Absolutely. That was back on first point. Nearly out of fight resources for next fight. Yeah, that's like 2-3 fights that we've had that for now. So it would have been cool if they faded. It would have, but that would have been wasteful. Would personally use Healing Orb as soon as we got the point to get everyone topped. Plus, we'll get CD again before people are damaged. Right. You can sneak in windows where it's like, I am pretty confident that we will have 8 seconds. before the next fight. So if my resources aren't full, which will also potentially recover in 8 seconds if they're close to full, if they're not close to full, I will use a healing orb specifically to conserve resources if I'm pretty confident that we're not going to get the fight. That's what is being pointed out there. That's good. Was she trying to heal the full health Lucios? Who knows? And then again from Blue X, I usually go for full right click into Baby Diva and fade last second before it explodes. Yeah, so you could go for it like that. It's true. Where you go, hey, I'm doing that. But the situation that we were talking about, it was like a 4v1 on the Baby Diva. The Baby Diva was even eliminated, I believe, before the Moira was totally out of line of sight because the self-destruct was on a corner like this, and our Moira just went here, and she was able to right-click the whole time. It would have been cool to go like, hey, fade, but not important. Sometimes in a safer situation, though, you might want to let other supports heal a bit. That can happen, since Clo is easy to charge. Yeah, but you can also just constantly cycle it, constantly use it. It can be pretty good. Okay. But yes, there are times, especially if you need a defensive ult. Why are we in the middle of this fight? Cool. Here you are. This is a lost fight. You've already lost 2. We're doing this. Fine. We throw our healing orb where it's immediately going to get eaten by the diva. Don't like it.
This will restore you.
We fade. And then we're like, wait, no, I'm changing my mind. Maybe I'm going back. Again, this fight is just over, but whatever.
You seem familiar. I killed you before. You seem familiar.
When faced with a set guide, you must challenge your
You seem
assumptions.
familiar. Bad guys.
Hi there.
Well, that was fun.
You seem familiar. I killed you before.
I am ready to unleash coalescence. 60 seconds. This will heal you.
Fade Cole into Blade and Winston. No. Get eliminated by Reaper. We can talk about this since, you going down is a big portion of the team fight here. This is happening. Sure. You lose him. I'm not too worried about that.
I require assistance.
What I'm more worried about is, oh, look, this is here. You shouldn't get caught here. You still have fade. You shouldn't be in any trouble.
This will heal you.
You need to fade, though. You do need to fade. You're in the middle of Crossfire. You're staying too long. You don't even use fade. So remember, if the Winston's zapping you from here and they're shooting this lane and you're standing, right here in the open, that doesn't work. You're getting shot from here and here. We fade and put ourselves here, and then we're safe again. That's all it takes. And you can still heal into this. It's perfectly fine. Positioning's got to be more aware of where the damage is coming from.
I killed you before.
That changes my hit.
Is ready to be unleashed.
My ultimate is ready. Join me. Surrender to my will.
30 seconds.
You see me in
Okay. Okay, fine. Your Winston's in some trouble, but that's okay. He's got his bubble.
Surrender to my will.
This isn't amazing, but okay. This has to be an enable tank coalescence now, which isn't great. You're enabling your Winston to fight a diva, but here we go. And then you need to change your angle to get your Winston value. Stay on your Winston. You have to hard stay on your Winston. Not like hard stay on your Winston, but you have to hard stay on your Winston. You can't swap over to doing other things. You're not going to now get an elimination on the McCree. You might this time, but you wouldn't generally count on starting trying to heal someone and then shifting over to getting a McCree elimination. That's not generally what you're expecting. Yeah, if you try to do a little of everything with your ult. So this was like, I'm going to heal my Winston a bit. I'm going to hurt the diva a bit. I'm going to hurt the Diva a bit. I'm going to hurt the McCree a bit. And I'm going to go over and heal some other people a bit. Like, that's not actually what you want out of your Coalescence. You want to be like, I have a specific purpose in mind for my Coalescence that I'm going to try to accomplish. And if that becomes impossible or becomes accomplished, then I can downshift to generic healing, generic damage, enabling my tanks, whatever. But you want to have a specific purpose in mind that isn't just heal someone up when you press the button. You really do, because you see, you didn't actually get anything done with the Coalescence. You didn't get the elimination on the McCree. You didn't enable your Winston to go super hard. You let your Winston go a little harder.
This will restore you. Tell me how this feels. Restoring you.
So you're here. The two of you are trying to fight the Winston, and you win. As long as you don't throw, you win. Be a little respectful of, hey, this is a sight line. Do you know exactly what's going on down it? But sure.
Restoring you. Winnick. Get into position. The payload.
Sure.
This will heal you.
Okay. You went this direction rather than the mini direction? That was just a mistake.
This will restore you.
What are you doing? Okay.
Allow me.
Play for Coalescence. You want to find a bunch of big damage that you can cleave here. Play for your Coalescence. You have Fade. You have stuff here. Just play to get your Coalescence. Don't get yourself too vulnerable, but you have Fade. You can be relatively aggressive.
This will heal you.
I'm not really convinced I see enough for your healing orb to be used here. Like, you actively need to be seeking Coalescence. You're sort of looking for an opportunity to get this damage orb past this Diva rather than a heal orb. Your team is fine because you've been looking for stuff to heal them. They don't need more sustain right now. You just need another way to get ult charge. Now, you're going to go right click while the healing orb's out. Fine. There's your Fade. You can't lose them. You do need to keep them up. That is your priority.
Surrender
And now you
to my
Coalescence
will.
immediately. But again, we're not Coalescencing immediately to save our Lucio. That's not what we're doing with Coalescence. We're doing to drive this through. And the truth is, we probably didn't need it. We probably managed to turn this enough by getting the Reaper, but it's fine. You'd been playing to get it. That was something that you wanted to do. And now we'd have been much more happy to go, okay, I'm going to pressure their Moira, their Widow. At a higher level, we wouldn't pressure their Widow, but at this level, we would. Even if you're playing up in a game. Again, we don't want to be changing targets a ton on Coalescence. We might go like, hey, I have this target on my screen and this target is sort of in front of it, so I'll adjust my aim slightly to get both of them, or it's slightly over here, so I'll adjust my aim slightly to get both of them. But we do have a target in mind for our Coalescence until we're done with that target, either because it fully gets away or we accomplished what we needed to, like getting it grav or eliminating it.
This will restore you. Our enemies return. Push on. Regenerate the cellular swarm.
That was not a great fit. Okay, that was fine.
I'm on fire. You'll be wise to stay out of my sight.
What a mess.
This will restore you.
Stick to your orb, yep. It's way too heavy healing. Fight's over. You won. I know you've got like full resource, but this fight is over and you've won. They do not have anything that can threaten you. You can take your sweet time healing these people back up. You can wait the 2 seconds for a healing orb to heal them back up if you want.
Get into position.
My ultimate's ready.
I'm on fire.
Hmm.
Hello.
Allow me
Sure.
to repair the damage.
If you're going to be on cart duty, so be it. It's not right for you to be on cart duty. In this comp, it should be Lucio, but if you're going to be on cart duty, so be it.
Regenerating your cellular structure.
It's a lot of healing into the Diva with the orb, but hey.
Dein Schutzengel ist da.
Yep. Okay, you can't heal the monkey. The monkey is on the other team. Nope, still can't heal them. I see the Diva. Not your priority. Like, you gotta care about yourself. We don't brave Tesla damage to heal people. We don't do it. We only have 200 HP.
I require assistance.
No, we don't. We do not risk our own life this seriously. We're at half health and we're like going, oh no, I'm going to heal this Diva. We don't do that. We can just leave. We can literally just leave. I would highly encourage we leave.
Surrender to my will.
That hurts so much. It hurts so much to see you using Coalescence here. Again, if you want to heal the Diva with your left click, so be it. The Winston left, heal your Diva with your left click. If you want to peek over here and go, hey, is there a target to Coalescence? Maybe you do that. But there's no reason to Coalescence here, and you're not going to get anything out of this Coalescence. You're really not, other than healing up the Diva the rest of the way and maybe doing some chip damage to this Reinhardt. You don't need this to eliminate the Reinhardt. It's not going to be the difference on the Reinhardt, nor is it going to be the difference on saving this. You need to have a target specifically in mind, and it shouldn't just be, I'm going to heal up a tank. It can be, I'm going to enable a tank, or it can be I'm looking for eliminations. It's not I'm just going to heal up a tank that got low. You had half resource left. This Diva was never in danger, and she's not in a dangerous spot. Cool. But again, we could have gotten that anyways. Q, she wants to, I told you.
30 seconds.
But there's an ultimate McCree
Get into
too.
position. What time we have
Yeah,
is
yeah.
fading. I seem in need of aid.
Okay, you lost track of him in the air and should have let go, but so be it. It's fine. Oh, look how powerful your Q could have been right now. You could have been like, okay, Coalescence on the McCree, and maybe the McCree makes it to cover, maybe he doesn't, but he's going to run out of the fight a bit, and as that's happening, I'm also going to get some chip damage on these guys, and I'm probably going to enable my Winston or Diva, who are going to jump in on top of it. Like, can you imagine how much better this Q would have been just a good 6-7 seconds later here? Like, oh, I press Coalescence. My target is the McCree, meaning I'm going to stick to that McCree until I literally can't because he's eliminated or he's just too far out of line of sight and I can't get my way over here to do it. Like, you're going to eliminate him or you're going to get close, and you're also going to encourage your tanks to jump on him and be comfortable jumping on him even with these tanks here. This McCree is very likely to get eliminated, even in ladder, especially if this is, as you said, a game where you're playing up, where you're a gold playing in a game with plats and diamonds. Like, if your tanks are plat or diamond, they're even more likely to recognize that they can jump on top of the McCree that's getting coalesced. It depends on the length of the cooldown blah and how well calculated that is, but yes.
I need to
10
recharge.
seconds.
And Moira's also got resource, so Moira's a little different because you're spending something regardless. You're either healing someone through with resource or you're healing people with an orb. So, like, you can go, hey, I can use the cooldown to avoid spending resource. That's reasonable. Oh, what did Crunch say? My reason to pick Moira is safety, Fade Orb, self-heal onto right clicks. She's very safe. She can some risky moves in dive where she dives with a Winston. That can't happen. I remember my sticky note, don't waste nades. During the fight, Moira can quickly... Yeah, there we go. Okay. So, we did this. We went over here. I don't love that we're over here, but so be it. There's a McCree in our face. We're ignoring the McCree? We're ignoring the McCree? We're just not aware. And now we're trying to fight the McCree. Okay. Okay.
That changes my thinking. This will heal.
Okay.
you.
So we're going to go into round 2. Are you going to still play Moira in round 2?
Initiating. Ready for battle.
You are. So I can tell you that the biggest things that you're going to need to work on right now out the gate are going to be your resource management is weak. You spend too much on people that aren't in danger, like people have walls between them and the opponents, and you just hard slam that heal button when tap healing is perfectly fine. Even if the fight's happening out here and there's people you'd like to get out here to go heal, a little bit of tap healing here, please, to conserve your resources. And also, like, recognize, hey, Lucio running on the wall is relatively safe. He's not a high priority to spend a quarter of your healing on. So, like, get better resource management. That's going to matter because you had too many fights. You had 2 or 3 fights where you were playing just constantly waiting for resource to generate so you could heal people. And that cannot be happening as Moira. You're spending resource too aggressively and not conserving it where it makes sense to conserve it if that's happening. So please, when people are safe from the enemy team, don't just mash the healing button on them. Just go, hey, tap, let it heal a little, tap, let it heal a little. The second thing that you're going to need to work on is your coalescences have to have a target in mind. They really have to have a specific target in mind to get value. You can't just bounce all over with them. Could be you go for the first target, you get it, you don't, and then you sort of end up in a bounce mode. That could happen. But really, you've got to have that first target in mind, and you clearly don't. Or your first targets are, I'm going to heal a tank. And healing a tank isn't enough. You have to heal a tank that's engaging hard, if that's what you're doing with it. Not that is out of the fight. Again, this healing people that are out of the fight with big expensive things, lots of resource or your Q is not okay. And the third thing really is that your positioning is not very good. You let yourself be in trouble. You don't know where you're going with fades, but that is going to be much harder for you to fix. That is a much longer term thing for you to work on fixing than the first 2. So I would actually have you start with the first 2 because they're relatively easy to implement for the gains that you'll get, even though you definitely need some big positional upgrades as well. Okay, let's keep going though. Maybe my priority list for you will change in the second round.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
But I also had one with more aggressive nades, so I wasted them a lot. Yeah, well, that's how Anna is sometimes. You waste them looking for aggressive, but they're not really wastes if you're getting aggressive. I mean, those aren't mutually... Those don't contradict each other at all, really. No, she did not fade that shatter. Would have been nice. You used to accidentally fade friendly shatters. Yeah, fading shatters is useful, but you gotta fade the other ones. It's another coalescence needs a specific target, Bronze Moira, but in cold.
Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Sometimes that's what it is.
Touch from afar.
Sure.
Regenerating your cellular structure. I cast this forth. Get into position. Engine again.
Better. It's enough. Good. No.
This will restore you.
Why? Why did we fade? We're missing 5 health. No.
This will improve your condition.
Probably damage orb this on the pushback end. Probably. No, you can't throw the healing orb there. This could have been a damage orb. They don't have a diva. If it was a healing orb, it needed to be bounced off of this wall to contain it so that it spent more time on you. But again, your team didn't really need a healing orb right now. In about 2 seconds, your team will need a healing orb. But right now, your team didn't need anything. Now could have been a healing orb. Boom, boom, type thing. What does the world think of the new Widow skin? Does it give any advantage? I'm not aware of it giving any advantage now. Yeah, no diva in the enemy team is free damage orbs. Yeah. It's fine. The fight was over when you lost the first two.
Objective lost. Stop the
Perhaps a
payload.
new methodology is required. Allow me to repair the damage. Surrender to my
No
will.
freaking way.
Double, triple kill.
My keen analytical mind.
Step rider.
Obviously, that was terrible. And I don't think you need me to explain why it was terrible, but you coalesced because you felt like healing some tanks that were low health, and you coalesced when your team was like a good 5 seconds from being able to engage on the enemy team. Like, that was absolutely not. Absolutely not.
This will heal you. Allow me. This will restore you.
I mean, okay, blah, except that... I mean, the problem with what you're saying, blah... We'll go to it.
Surrender to my will.
Is that there's absolutely no rush to get to this team. There's absolutely no rush to take this fight. This just capped. It's not like, oh, we have to get back there or they're going to cap. Like, the difference between we beat them here, we beat them here, we beat them here, we beat them here is nothing. It's nothing at this point. Like, we absolutely can't go do this play. Now we could press Q. Now would be a great time to press Q. We wouldn't have gotten up here as fast if we hadn't already pressed Q, but, you know, 5-6 seconds after when we pressed the Q would have been a great Q. They also didn't use Fade to get distance first. Yeah. I didn't say it was right.
Triple kill.
My keen analytical mind detects
Step rider.
Okay.
This will heal you. Allow me.
Okay, if you get in trouble, where are you going? Where are you going? Good. You knew where to fade that time.
This will restore you.
Tuck left, fine. This movement's gotten a little bit better.
Not yet. Allow me
Why?
to repair the... I will rebuild you.
Like, I get it. Is the fade because you desperately want to cure the TNT? I don't love it.
Allow me to repair the damage.
Tuck right,
Your
tuck
power
right.
is
Mm-hmm. Fine. You expect him to take damage.
Get into position.
Yeah.
Payload has reached the checkpoint.
When faced with a setback, we must challenge our assumptions.
Well, it's possible I watched a little bit of it at 1.25 speed, but you guys can handle it.
This will heal you.
So guys, are we gonna find a good Q? There could be one right here. We're about to have one. We can open the angle. We can do exactly what Blue was recommending earlier, which is, hey, I'm going to fade out here, I'm going to throw a damage orb, and then I'm going to Q, and I just have to make sure to be far enough away from the Kree that he can't roll flash me. So it would more be a like fade out here, throw a damage orb, Q for the Kree. This Kree goes down if you Q him from here, like no question. Your Tracer will jump on him, he'll go down, you swing out, you hit giant damage on these guys, you're fast to get out here if the angle changes. You can win this fight with Q right here. Mostly by using poor gold and flat positioning. But heck.
Trust me. Surrender to my will.
Instead, we're trying to heal people. We're trying to heal our Zarya with our ult. And not while our Zarya is in there brawling, but while our Zarya is out there hiding. Now she's gonna brawl. Oh well. Malky Gallagher says, great analysis as always, Temporal. Reminds me of a good driving instructor. Thank you. Thank you. I think they don't queue.
Restoring you.
That's funny because he used to teach driver's ed while he was in college. What? What? Is Blah making things up? Okay. There it is. Yeah, the queue. That's great. Okay. I'm always making things up. Found some funny old clips. Gonna send on Discord. Okay, I'll check them out, Blue. Just fade out. Fade out. Well, less need once you have the bubble. Once you realize you needed to fade earlier before this happened, but because you get the bubble here, you then need to just walk, and then now you'd fade, and then you'd have made it. But hey. Like you watching the Wales Cruise a few years ago, or a few weeks ago. Temporal is actually the CEO of his driver's ed too. Why would you think I'm the CEO? I might own the company, but why would you think I'm the CEO? That's way too much work. ScarfCon 2021. There you go. There you go. Okay. So, your priorities don't change. Your movement and positioning got a little better in the second round, but your priorities definitely don't change. The first thing is going to be get your coalescence better. Like, seriously, get your coalescence better. You have to have a specific target in mind, and your preference would be that it's an enemy squishy that is poor positioning, like that McCree had that you could have just blown up. And then you downshift into, okay, now I'll just go for mass beam, or I'll downshift into supporting my tank. Your secondary choice, if this isn't available, is to go, hey, especially in the first fight, say I have the first ult on the board, I'm going to ult while my Reinhardt is swinging, while my Zarya is in there beaming, specifically picking one of them. If I can get both, it's great, but I have one in mind. Even if I'm cleaving and getting both of them and getting the enemy Reinhardt, I have one of these targets in mind that I'm going to stick to if they split, and I'm going to keep sticking to if they split. And that's who I'm enabling to play super aggressive to get their ult to then win the fight for us with Shatter. Those are really the two ways we're looking to use Coalescence. We are not looking to use Coalescence as an emergency heal people back up button. It's really not very good at that. It's especially not very good at that when these people are hiding themselves out of the fight, when these people are behind cover, things like that. That's going to be your single biggest thing. Your second thing is going to be the usual resource thing. You had some fights and it was rough where you just didn't have any resource, and this is because you're hitting this left click button That's not the way to draw left click. You're hitting this. We'll draw a bad mouse here. You're hitting this left click button too hard for too long. Stop it. Stop it. Ease up on this button. This button is a fine button to use. You can even hold this button down in battle when you're healing multiple people that are taking a bunch of damage, and it's great, and you charge up a bunch of volt off of it. But when people get behind cover, gentle heals. Gentle heals. When the enemies are super far away and not bothering them, gentle heals. Gentle heals. Just like tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. That's what we're doing. And not even at that speed. It's like tap, tap, tap. More like that is going to be perfectly fine. And this isn't like, oh, 50% of your healing has to be like this, or 80% of your healing has to be like this, but you got to find places you can do this when people have cover, when enemies aren't really bothering you, so that you can get them up. And then finally, especially on your first round, you need to like not be caught so in the fight so heavily. You need to play a little more in places where you know where you're going to get out. Yes, you're Moira, you get dragged a little close to the fight based on the needs with your left and right clicks, and that's fine, that happens, but you still need to know what your escape plan is. You need to be near cover that you can go to. You need to know, if I have to hit fade, exactly where am I going to go. And you should have a little mental thing for that at all times in your brain of, if I hit fade, where am I going to go right now when playing Moira. So those are the three things I'd give you. Please don't try to implement them all at once. Please try to work on one of them at a time with like 5 to 15% of your brain power. That's what we're looking to do. 5 to 15% of our brain power on one thing. Start with coalescence. Make it better. That's what we want to do. Once you just automatically start doing coalescences correctly, maybe that takes you 5 games, maybe that takes you 50 games, maybe that takes you 10 games, I don't know. But once you start doing those correctly and you've been focusing on this the whole time, then you can ease off, free this brain power back up, and make sure it still sticks. And if it still sticks after you've freed this brain power up, great, go ahead and focus on the next thing. And the next thing might be, like I talked about, your healing resource use. Or if you want to go, no, I want to go for a new peak, that's fine, go for your new peak. But I would work through these things one at a time, and I'd especially pay attention to those first two things. But one at a time with these things. Okay, if people have questions, go ahead and throw them up in chat now. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps me out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate that. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, see what sort of promos, special events we have going on, all that good stuff. And in there, you can also go to the get roles section, and that'll let you get the watcher role, or get notification section rather, and then you can be here watching live to catch me, to ask me questions if you have them about Overwatch, about other things like inflation we had in the last chat, things like that. Okay, let's take a look here. Catching up. Check old clips will do. Blah's always making things up, fair enough. Temporal owns his own motorway just for him, the S1. Okay. Temporal drives only exotic cars. And don't forget sticky notes. Okay. Thanks, Temporal. No problem, Congaboom. And then I think there was a discussion that I didn't get involved in. Do I want to go back and look at that? Yeah. So here's a mildly interesting discussion. So we have Nyan asking, other than not believing in DPS players for the damage, when is the Moira ever a good pick? When Anabap exists. And this is coming from a place of Moira doesn't bring a ton of utility. You have to up her raw power pretty high, which they've done a little bit of with the TPS or with the orb cooldown drop, but you have to up her raw power pretty high, or you have to be getting a lot of value from cleave for her to really make sense, because hey, she is she's a big healer, but so are but so are Bap, so are Ana, and Bap and Ana are able to heal brawl teams that take angles, and as Overwatch evolves, teams and players have come to understand that controlling angles is just so incredibly important, that having people stack to really give Moira cleave heal value is a rarer thing. That said, if you know Overwatch closely, you know there's a couple things that override that shortcut it. Teams that go like the Winston, Diva, Moira, Lucio with some combination of Tracer, Sombra, Reaper, that comp doesn't take angles. It just goes, we're just going to shortcut it. We're not going to take angles. We're not going to stage. We're just going to run over and try to do stuff. And this kind of comp only works when its individual components are powerful enough. And it's a question of, does Moira have enough raw power, or does the comp have enough raw power, or a comp like it have enough raw power to forego setting up angles and play a super close range comp like this and not just get crushed? And the truth is, frequently this is not the case. I don't think Overwatch is in a particularly good state when this kind of thing is the case, where you can just ignore angles, but it's happened. And, you know, it does happen, so I won't complain too loud. But let's see what Blue X's response is. Actually, if it was only one elimination... No, I thought he responded. Oh, there we go. Need movement to get value against enemy team. Sort of. I would say Ana with nade is the highest single target burst you can get. I mean, sure, okay. Bap through window, but you know, you could argue that's not single target, but neither was the nade. Against D.Va, Winston, Ana. Against D.Va, Winston, Ana is just pain because of the bubble matrix blocking, healing, and you not having any escape and needing a lot of peel just to get value. Yeah, no, it can be a problem. I mean, Moira does fit, again, in those unorganized places. She sort of becomes an emergency. Okay, fine, I just can't deal with it. I'm not getting enough peel. My team isn't controlling enough space. That's sort of a ladder exclusive thing in some ways. But yes, I think the bigger place is when you can just get away. Is there a comp, or is there a time when the other team isn't good enough at controlling angles, or their heroes aren't good at controlling angles, and you can just go, we have enough raw power to crush you, even completely skipping staging, completely skipping getting control, where we all just go as 6, everyone press W. And she does well in those situations. Not great Overwatch. Or benefits, but then I would pick Ana Bap rather than Ana plus Moira for massive heals. Yes, depends though. Plus resource. Oh, I thought that discussion got more interesting. Okay, I thought that discussion got more interesting. That's fine. Heavily depends on man comp, but in general for ranked, in my opinion, yeah, it's kind of a ranked thing. Okay. Moira's great at healing. Echo Fair too, better than Mercy. I think you're trolling. Yeah, you're definitely trolling. Okay. There we go. Okay, that's going to do it. If you guys are enjoying the content, one more time, please do like and subscribe. Yes, I am just stalling for time to give you guys a moment to get any final questions in there in case you have them. Doesn't look like you do, and I think that's going to do it. Thanks, guys. Temporal out.